All right. You guys are all muted. This is live streaming. So let's just come into our bodies today in any way that feels good to you. And sometimes we're recuperating for something. So really honor the intelligence of your own body as you go through this. And you can do it with micro movement, with no movement, laying down. I'm actually on a ball. The physio balls are fabulous, but not if you're being in stillness. So I'm going to be sitting on a ball. And today we're going to do cranium, ribs, and pelvis. And we're going to do some sounds with those just to help find the interconnectedness of our bodies. On Monday, I did a session that was all about undulation and ripples and waves. But like this can be microscopic, cellular undulations, cellular ripples, cellular waves. So however it feels most supportive to your body, right? We come into a somatic inquiry practice in order to nourish our own body, mind, spirit, to nourish ourselves on that level. So listen to yourself, listen to your body, honor your body. We're just going to start before doing anything else with some theta breath. And the theta breath is a soft, gentle hiss, like steam gently releasing from a radiator. And you can take as long as you want on the exhale. It could be very short, it could be very long. Ultimately, it's going to sort of lengthen out your exhale, which will naturally downregulate you slightly. So starting with a inhale, and then on the exhale, gentle hiss, inviting your awareness into sensation. If you're having pain in your body and sensation is feeling very uncomfortable, take the sensation to something else. Like maybe it's into the sound instead of into the sensation of feeling. Or even it could be visual. And as I'm starting, I immediately want to just turn my head a little bit. This could be very micro movement. It could be big movement. When we pan the horizon and turn our head just a little bit, we give our brainstem, our primitive brain, the information as we look around that we're safe. And bringing that into really tiny, tiny movement can just feel delicious. But if it's not for you today, that's totally fine. So listening in with the movement or no movement of the occipital joint, head right at the top of your spine, and playing with the theta breath a little bit more. Tuning into the natural growing and shrinking with the breath, right? So as we exhale, deflating the lungs a little bit. And then as we inhale, inflating, feeling this natural internal pulse, shape shifting the organs from the inside. And I think we're just going to set one little intention, and that is that the fluids in our body have intelligence. You can set a different one, but I'm going to set this. And that we're going to tune into the wisdom of the fluids within our body. So the blood, cerebrospinal fluid, lymphatic fluid, the fluids that are really supporting us, nourishing, eliminating wastes in our body. And any little micro movement that we're inviting in is going to help distribute those fluids in a more efficient and healthy manner. So if they're all kind of gummed up in one area, we're just inviting them to redistribute naturally, just through the vibration of sound and maybe micro movement. Allowing any little teeny undulations to bubble up or also settle down. Maybe the weight of your body connecting to the planet, letting yourself release into gravity so we're not struggling against it. Listening to that sound of the theta breath. So we're going to go with 3 different vowel sounds, and we'll play with the vowel sounds first, and then we'll add a little bit of hands-on and maybe more movement. The sounds are going to be ooh, ah, and ee. And we can just play with the ooh for a couple of breaths. If you're laying down, see where you feel the vibration of the ooh the most. Ooh. Without going into any kind of vocal Olympics, the deeper you go, the lower down that sound is going to, in your pitch, the lower down that sound is going to land. So if it feels interesting going with that ooh, you can also bring the ooh down into your pelvis and allow any little micro movement adjusting to take place. So big bones of your pelvis, cradling your organs, your reproductive organs, lots of other things, your guts. So feeling into that and allowing there to be micro movement so that there's freedom from organ to organ. There's enough room to slide around against each other. And it could just be, if you are feeling okay, letting your gut body have some mobility. I'm thinking of that really starting down there in the pelvis. So from the tail and guts in your lower body, we're going to work our way up, and we'll just keep going with the ooh sound. You can hands on if you're ready. I was going to do all the sounds first, but here we are. Let's just go with the o, or the ooh oh. Ooh. And I want to say we're inviting volume down into our gut body, volume down into our pelvis, right? So many cultural, maybe familial impositions on the body. Let that go and just take up space with your belly. Take up gut space, take up reproductive organ space, take up fluid life force energy, right? This would be chi, prana, kind of first and second chakra area. Let that whole thing have some, even if it's tiny, life force energy pulsing in there. And if it feels uncomfortable or painful, maybe feel into the space around your pelvis. So instead of feeling to the interior, feeling to what's just on the outside. What does the surface area feel like? Big bones of the pelvis are some of the bones that continue to provide us with lymphocytes, the lymph cells. So even as adults, those big bones are doing a lot for us. And I also want to just point out that in our pelvis, we can hold things in or we can let things go. So this is an invitation to skillfully decide what needs to be let go of and what needs to be contained, right? We don't need to be holding all the time, but we also maybe don't need to be completely free flow. Maybe we do. It's really up to you. So feeling into that. If it feels good to let your pelvis move, you can think of almost like you're painting the inside of your pelvis. Painting sounds so, I don't know. Think of it as artistically painting the inside of your pelvis. Yeah. So it's not like you're sloshing the paint on the side of the house. It's like you're creating the filigree and the beauty of whatever it is you want to create inside your pelvis, like the lushness, the lush, verdant ecosystem. Ooh. And letting your awareness feel into the three-dimensionality of that. So we have the front and back space, we have the side space, we have the up down, we have our tailbone, our sacrum in there, our psoas coming in and up. So feeling into the volume of that part of your body. We have our femur heads nestling in there. Ooh. Sending some love and kindness to your pelvis. Ooh. Yeah, there can be a lot of feelings of shame, I think, associated with our sexuality or with our elimination process, all those things which are down here in our pelvis. So allow that. It's not that you're allowing it to express, but just to know that that is a place. I once took a class where it was a yoga class and it was all about releasing the hips. And she called the class, like, she called the pelvis the emotional graveyard. So if there's something stuck down there that you're ready to let go of it. But shining the light of loving kindness and awareness into your pelvis. Couple more breaths with that. If the vowel sound is too much, try just a aspirated breath without the vocal cords. That can also be really rich. When I switch into the aspirated breath, the imagery in my mind becomes much more mythical. So maybe it's different for you, but just notice how these small shifts, like going from a ooh to a, can totally change our perception or our awareness or the images and stories that come up in our awareness. And if it feels like it's too much, just stop and be still. Letting yourself compost any kind of messaging or stories that are unhelpful to you right now. And any one of the elements can compost that, you can burn it in a fire. You can let it wash through with water. You can plant it in the earth. You can breathe through it with the air. So let's take it up into the ribs. We're going to use an ah sound for the ribs. And again, you can use your ah as, it could be like the doctor's office, ah, ah, letting your mouth be really open, or it could be smaller, more gentle, or it could also be just ah. So playing with the ah and allowing the whole jellyfish of the diaphragm to shapeshift the breath, the lungs, the heart, right? The lungs, the heart nestled in there between the lungs. So all the movement, all the sound is up here in this rib cage, lungs, heart area. I mean, it's all through your whole body, but we're just focusing in on this area, hands on or not. the living, dynamic, organic tissue of the diaphragm in relationship to the ribs, in the relationship to the organs, having a sense of energetic permeability, right? So that things can move up and down, that we're not sticking somewhere. Sometimes I've heard people say they have a really hard time feeling connected from the upper to the lower. So give yourself a sense that there's this energetic permeability if it feels helpful. If it doesn't feel helpful, then don't do that. But if it feels like, oh, I really want to feel that connection, you can just bring on that midline, head, tail a little bit inside this. I really love this image of the jellyfish because the diaphragm is not just doing this up, down, up, down. It's much more shape-shifty, right? As it's moving, maybe pulling more in the front or in the back, maybe connecting more here and there. So allowing that shape-shifting of the diaphragm to intelligently mobilize your rib cage, lungs, heart, and this relationship between the upper and the lower. And your spine is going to have some free flow within all of this, even if it's just in your mind. Free flow, lots of space in the spinal cord, lots of room. Each vertebra with that hole in the middle, spacious. So there's room for everything to move through. Playing more with the ah sound. Ah. Yeah, like as soon as I go into that without the vocal cord, it's like I've moved into the time of legends. So let anything that enriches your experience arise. And anything that feels clampy, if you notice it, let it soften and melt away. Let it compost. Inviting the imagination to to play with you. So the sense of wonder might come on board. Then if you go out of the ah sound to other shapes, that's fine. And even just no breath, no sound is also fine. So for me, the sense of the horizontal plane in relationship to the diaphragm really comes on board, almost like scrying in water. And then we're going to take it up to our heads and come into our cranium. And with the cranium, we're going to go with an E sound. So you can play between the sounds if you want to, of course, or you can do no sound. You can do any other sound that you want. Just the invitation is to play with the E and take it kind of up here so that you can feel into the bones, your jaw, your throat, this relationship of your head onto your spine. Using the E, which is also going to create this sort of horizontal field, at least in my imagination. And think of the dome of the head having a sense of the echo chamber of that sound, which then still radiates out, but the dome of the head, the dome of the cranium, really receiving that sound vibration. And again, you can try it without the sound if that feels good. Moving into the mists of Avalon. Eeee. Yeah, so I feel like with the different, whether we aspirate or vowel sound it, there's a different density to the sound vibration. I think that's part of why it becomes so sort of spell casting when I take out the verbal, the vocal sound, the vocal cords. So if you need more sort of magic and lightness in your life, maybe do more of the aspirated stuff without the vocal cords. But if you need more sort of manifestation in the material realms in the world, then maybe the vocal cord sounds are good. But playing between them is also wonderful. Yeah, so maybe sometimes, like if we're working more on the energetic level, the aspirated is going to have enough oomph. But if we're kind of getting more into the material realms, then the vocal cord sound is going to give you a little bit more. So what I'd like to do is keep playing with all of those sounds, but you can move through them. So you could be like, ooh, ah, yeah, e, then just feel where they're connecting for you. On the physical level in sensation, or even on the imaginal level, what they're bringing up, what they're bringing into your experience. And I'm going to add music. So probably I won't continue making sounds unless I'm just doing the aspirated, because I might steal the, oh, there's a teapot in here trying to drink my water. Maybe I'll just be doing the aspirated stuff so I don't take over the sound with that. Let's go with, I'm going to try a song that I'm not sure about, but this is Ambient Fields. This is Jeff Gersh, who we use a lot. Allowing, and I'm going to change it to another one. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, allowing the sound also to just create the space in your body, allowing the sound to create the vibration. And also the impetus for movement. Sometimes it's helpful to close your eyes to get into it. And also this could be done standing, laying down in a quadruped position, just feeling as you move through the sounds, this interrelationship of the head, cranium, ribs, the basket of the ribs. I still haven't found a word that I like for it. The cage is kind of awful. The basket, not quite right for me either, but something of the ribs. Imagining the music is filling the internal spaces in a very loving way. Feeling the interrelationship of these three big bony living structures that are holding our organs, that are protecting us. And also integrated dynamic parts of our being on the planet, right? Lots of other creatures have a cranium, a set of ribs, and a pelvis. Connected from the head to the tail. So there's that wisdom of the bones as well, right? The marrow inside the bones, the knowing in our bones. Earthy nature of the bones, but even the rib cage really has a capacity for shape shifting with our breath. Even the suture joints of the cranium, there's even mobility, a little bit of mobility in there. And then the pelvis as we walk, as we move, the adaptation in those bones. And then this deep, deep support of the tensegrity of our fascia in relationship with the bones, supporting interconnected, interwoven. It's hard to know where it ends, like where your cranium ends and then the fascia begins, right? Or the perifascia, the stuff that's right next to the bone. Same all around your body, this interrelated, interwoven densities that just become more dense or more fluid. All of it interrelated, all of it expressing one whole of you. And then also relating to everything in the world, right? Taking it in on whatever level. can you find the sense of resilience in the tissues, right? The sense of resilience in this interweaving of fluids, tissues, elasticity, and even the bones are curvilinear, that there are no straight lines in our body, living system. And then within the bones, the sort of stacking structures, almost like icosahedral structures, which looks a lot like what the fascia looks like on a microscopic level. One's softer and more elastic and more fluid, and one's denser and stronger. Yeah, so the pelvis and the spine really supporting the legs and vice versa, and the rib cage and lungs, scapula supporting the arms, scapula softly attached onto the back of the ribs. There's movement and mobility between the ribs and the scapula. And those radiate out into the wings of the arms. Just going to give us a few minutes to process whatever happens. Just using your breath or the exhale to let go of anything you need to let go of. And letting the inhale fill you up with anything you need to fill up with. Trusting that the information that you need on the sort of cellular fluid level is there without having to think about it too much. It's not the conceptual level, it's the body level of taking in the wisdom. Or receiving the wisdom. And it doesn't always need to be interpreted verbally or in concepts, but sometimes it does. So up to you in the future, how you respond or come to grips with whatever's going on the body level. Sometimes painting or poetry is a good way to process further the things that are coming up on the body level. And sometimes just coming into stillness to let the reverberation of whatever movement happen. Let it just reverberate and feel into that, sense into that. The shadow or the trace form of the movement. inviting the tissues and the fluids in our body to express their own intelligence, maybe beneath the thinking. But maybe the thinking's in there too, and that's okay. Giving yourself permission and spaciousness in your own pattern of being, and allowing your dance with the flow of life to play out as vitally as possible, as full of life and vitality. So I am going to end the live stream. If you are there in TV land, come join us at the Alembe